Thank you for joining me today for our weekly devotional. Today we're going to be in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2. And so we're going to really read the first 8 verses of 1 Thessalonians chapter 2 together. And then we'll talk about a couple of things and how that applies to our life in the 21st century. And that's what we'll do today. So let's go to the Bible. We're going to read here 1 Thessalonians 2, starting in verse 1. I'm going to read from the New American Standard Bible. It says this, it says, "For you yourselves know, brethren, that our coming to you was not in vain. But after we had already suffered and been mistreated in Philippi, as you know, we had the boldness in our God to speak to you the gospel of God amid much opposition. For our exhortation does not come from error or impurity or by way of deceit, but just as we have been approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel, so we speak, not as pleasing men, but God, who examines our hearts. For we never came with flattering speech, as you know, nor with a pretext for greed, God is witness, nor did we seek glory from men, either from you or for others, even though as apostles of Christ we might have asserted our authority. But we proved to be gentle among you, as a nursing mother tenderly cares for her own children. Having so fond an affection for you, we were well pleased to impart to you not only the gospel of God, but also our own lives, because you had become very dear to us." So when we look into these verses, there's really two things that I want us to catch from that today and really apply to our lives. And the first one would be that we need to be willing to speak the gospel, not as pleasing men, but to please God. So there's really two ways that this works out. The first one would be we need to focus on God, right? We need to be sure that when we are having an interaction with another person where an opportunity to share the good news about Jesus comes up, that we focus on, okay, God, I'm going to be faithful in this moment. Not on results, not on how much we care about the other person or whatever it is, but we need to focus on being faithful to God in that moment. And so the other side of that is not as pleasing to men. And what that really has to do is that we're not seeking the approval of other people. So we're not going to change our message based on what we think that person wants to hear, or the area that we're in, or whatever it may be. We're going to speak the same truth of the gospel, whether that's in Parker County, Texas, whether it's in Port-au-Paix, Haiti, or whether it's in Moscow, Russia, right? Like, the gospel is the same. We're not going to do this in a way to try and shape this to the desires of people in a specific area. We're going to preach the gospel, and we're going to please God, and we're going to let the results fall where they may, okay? And then the other thing that I wanted us to catch here in this same part, so it's kind of 1A, if you will, is that that says we never came with flattering speech. And I hear several times people say something like, I want to share the gospel with somebody, but I don't know exactly what I would say or how I would do it. I'm not good at that. And right here, in this letter, Paul is telling them, we didn't come to you with flattering speech. We didn't have fancy words. We didn't have a great, PowerPoint presentation or anything like that. We came to you and we preached the gospel, and that was it. And that's what you and I get to do today, is just share Jesus. It doesn't matter how fancy we do it. Doesn't matter if we get every single point right. Do your best, obviously, but just sharing Jesus with somebody is what we're called to do. It doesn't matter if we do it, the right way. Sharing Jesus is the right way. And so you and I can do that wherever we are. The other thing, the last thing, point 2 here that I would say is Paul writes in verse 8, "Having so fond an affection for you, we were well pleased to impart to you not only the gospel of God, but also our own lives, because you had become very dear to us." And that's really the the thing that I want to land on right here is that you and I are called to have deep relationships with other people. We need to have an affection for others. It means that we need to care about them deeply. And you can't do that with somebody that you see once a week for 10 minutes here or there before or after church or whatever. To have that deep affection with somebody, you need to share life with them. You need to spend time with them. I would say, these are the kinds of relationships that are built more around a table or a living room than in a classroom, or in a big giant auditorium, right? Caring for somebody deeply, another family, another person, whatever it is, requires that we know what's going on in their life, requires that we know what their struggles are, and that we care about how they're doing in those struggles. They know what's going on in our life. They know our struggle. The way that works for me in my life is that we obviously do meet with people in a small group Bible study, so that's in a room. But we also have people over to the house where we talk about what's going on in our life. We have, I'll meet a couple of guys from my group for lunch here and there. We talk about what's going on in our life. What are we hoping for? What are we struggling in? And so we're sharing life together, and that's how we're living this out. That we're well pleased to impart to you not only the gospel of God, but also our own lives, because you become very dear to us. And there's a deep bond that comes with following Jesus when we do it in community with other people, when we do it with relationships with other people. And God didn't ask us to be alone, or he didn't ask us to go off in the desert and get away from everybody and just focus on repeating the same mantra over and over again. That's not what Jesus asks us to do. He wants us to go and share the good news, to teach other people about how to follow him, baptize them, and then train them to follow Jesus, right? And so we do that by sharing our life with other people. So those are the two things that I wanted to share with you today. I hope those are helpful, and I hope that you'll join us again online and in person sometime. You can join us online over at YouTube or Facebook, our Greenwood Baptist Church pages, and you can connect with us through a small group by going to groups.greenwood.church, and I'd love to talk to you more about that later. All right, bye.